Introduce some of our scouts who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys up here?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sure you know most of them, but I'd like to just do a quick thank you, of course, to our library board. We have a fabulous board of trustees, and it's just such a pleasure to work with them. Harold Trabold is our board president. Ellie, everyone knows Ellie. Ellie Ryder, our library board vice president. Lisa Casales, I just saw Lisa Casales. Barbara Reynolds. Barbara was a library staff member for a little over 30 years. Barbara, where'd you go? Anyway, she started working over here too. Hey! Betsy Kennedy. Our friend Pat Subert, who was on the library board for over 18 years. And we're excited to welcome Tiffany Rivera, who starts her term July 1st. So thanks. So I'd just like to thank all the Friends of the Library in particular for sponsoring such a special event today. They're always just so gracious. And the library staff, Laura Carty, Karen McCahey, Mike McCabe, Danielle Paisley, and everyone who looks tired but excited, just give them, they've been doing a lot of raking today and running around, so thanks. I'm generally a pretty level-headed person, but over the last couple of weeks it's been a bit touch and go. At one point I'm like, Lauren, pull it together, it's just a building. But it's not just a building, it's a library. And it's because of the heart and soul that all of you poured into it made this building a library. So thank you. With that, I'd like to welcome up Harold Trabold. He just has a couple small presentations. Thanks.
Thank you, Lauren, and good afternoon to everyone. This is a wonderful day for the Patchogue Medford community, and of course for the Patchogue Medford Library. I was told 8 years ago, when I first became a trustee, that this day could not happen. This building at that time had been promised to other organizations, and the library would not be able to obtain it. Look what happens when a community comes together and expresses its wish. This is a wonderful day, and it's a wonderful effort by the community. When we put together today's program and started to consider who we must reach out to and express appreciation to, the list grew longer and longer. Therefore, I have decided not to give a long speech except in the form of telling a story. The story of the building and a community. The building, of course, is the Carnegie Library, and the community, of course, is Patchogue. A little history, and I will take a little literary license, but if you are interested, I commend to you the Patchogue Advance article that was published March 8, 1908, when the library was originally dedicated. The first Patchogue Library was formed in 1883, about 10 years before the village was incorporated. It did not have a permanent home. It floated from location to location as space was available. It also appears it was not a public library in the sense that we know it today. In 1898, the ladies of an organization known as Cirrhosis decided that we needed a public library. And note that it was the ladies who started this whole ball rolling. The ladies of Cirrhosis approached the old library's owner, and they agreed that the Cirrhosis ladies could attempt to turn the library into a public library. And in August of 1900, the community voted to have a public library and elected the first Board of Trustees of this library. Shortly thereafter, the public library in Patchogue received a state charter. The school board, under whose jurisdiction the library came at that time, funded the operation, everybody be seated and calm, with $600 a year. The library became a very popular place and soon outgrew its space, and a group sought to have a building built to house the public library. So now I want to jump forward 100 years or so, and in approximately 2011, when the vacant Carnegie Library building sat on Lake Street and was in danger of being destroyed because of new development in the growing village of Patchogue, a group who called themselves Friends of the Carnegie Library got together and started a movement to preserve this building. At the risk of leaving somebody out, we would now like to recognize those individuals if they would come forward when I call their names. David Kennedy. I'd like to continue the story. Mr. Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie of Steel Fortune fame, responded to requests from the village of Patchogue persons, and he agreed to donate $10,000 to build this building. Now, in our case, the building was to be built on Lake Street on land donated by Edwin Bailey Sr. And we have Edwin Bailey's grandson here today, Bob Bailey. After the activities of the Friends of the Carnegie Library, the developer, Tritech Construction, agreed to sponsor the moving and storage of the building so that it could be preserved. We would like to have a representative of Tritech Construction come forward at this time. Is Rob Calarco or somebody present? Now, moving a 100-ton or so brick building is not an easy task, and to those who witnessed the move, not once, but twice, were amazed by the care and precision taken by Tritech, its contractors, and workmen. So we've presented certificates of thanks to the representatives from Tritech Construction. Now, about this time, the village of Patchogue decided to find out what organizations had a use for this building, and they solicited proposals. Enter to the program at this time our former library director, Dina Krills. Dina, I know you're here, so come on forward. Come on forward. Dina, after discussing it with the library trustees, prepared a proposal which was sent to the village of Patchogue regarding the proposed use by the Patchogue Medford Library. It was Dina's vision that brought us here today because she was able to show a sustainable and viable use by the Patchogue Medford Library. Thank you, Dina. The village board was so impressed with Dina's proposal that they decided to award the building to the Patchogue Medford Library. So now we had a building. It was going to be moved. And what work would have to be done? We had architects and engineers inspect the building and knew that it would need a lot of work. Now, in the early 1900s, the benefactor was Andrew Carnegie. Similarly, in 2013-14 and to the present day, we had a very generous benefactor in the Knapp Sweezy Foundation, which came forward and provided a very substantial gift at just the right time to enable the library to do the right thing and renovate the building in the proper form. I said to the mayor earlier that when we got the building, we knew we'd be able to do something with it, but we did not have the idea that we'd be able to restore it to the splendor that it is today, but it was because of the Knapp Sweezy Foundation that we were able to do that. At this time, I would ask Priscilla Knapp-Teisch to come forward. Priscilla, I know you're here. I also know you don't like the spotlight, but you're stuck today. I know, I'll have to pay for it. So, Priscilla, come on. This is a presentation.
This is not as I am blown away by the job they all did in restoring this. It goes beyond anything any of us could have ever imagined.
Couldn't have done it without you. Here's a token of appreciation. We think you'll like it. So back to our stories. In the early 1900s, the land was donated by Edwin Bailey Sr. on Lake Street. In this century, we had the commitment from the Tri-Tech folks to move the building, but where would we move it? A variety of locations were reviewed, and ultimately entered the County of Suffolk, County Executive Steve Ballone, our local legislator Rob Calarco, and we thank them for the county donating the land. And by the way, we should thank the staff of the courthouse because they have a new neighbor, so to speak. And we should thank all the staff in different departments of the County of Suffolk, the courts, the law department, the health department, the public works department, and I'm sure there are others that I'm not aware of or recognizing today who expedited the processes and procedures to move things along. We cannot say enough for the support we have received from our own local legislator, Robert Calarco, who has worked side by side with us in bringing this building to completion. I know Bob Calarco's here, I don't know. Okay, Bob. Steve isn't here yet, right? What? Yeah. Next, we come to our own village of Patchogue. It was the village of Patchogue, in response to Dina Krill's proposal, which agreed to give the building to the library. We were also interacting with the county in obtaining the land and interacting with Tri-Tech for the relocation of the building. Thanks go to Peter Sarich, I know Peter's here, Joe Dean, for their help, and at this time, I would ask Mayor Pontieri to come forward. Village. So the story continues, and you're almost rid of me, in that the early 1900s there was a dedicated architect, John Vredenberg Van Pelt. I practiced saying that name 3 times, and so I'd get it right. Who, it is said, was zealous in his endeavor to provide a proper building. And in this century, we also had someone who was very zealous, and I will now turn the program back to our wonderful library director, Laura Nichols, to introduce that person. Laura?
Thank you. So I spoke earlier before about the heart and soul that went into this library, and it's without a doubt that the facilities management crew made this happen. Between Daniel Lees McLemore, John Scalabrelli, you probably recognize him. He's been here 20 hours a day for the last 3 months, and Ivan Carasquillo. You know, there's no better example of a labor of love, the devotion that Ivan put into this project. Just a quick example, when he finally tracked down the bricks to, match here, had some samples overnighted, and we're like, yeah, these are perfect. He didn't like them, so he had another sample overnighted. He still wasn't comfortable, so he drove down to Virginia with his family in tow, on his own time, like most of this, just to make sure that they were perfect for us. So Ivan, thank you. Ivan's probably fixing something inside, but oh, there he is.
Yeah, Ivan!
So I'm pleased that we have some elected officials with us today, and I'd like to welcome them up. After that, we have our teen Friends of the Library, incoming and current president, they'll count the ribbon, and then I'd like to invite everyone who got their first library card here, if we can get in front of them on the stoops and take a nice group photo. Who should we start with? Let's see.
Mayor.
Mayor, he looks like he's excited.
You know, many of you remember when the whole issue of the library and moving of the library came up. I became very concerned. I'm saying, what do we do with the building? How do we make it happen? Can we make it happen? And then there was a group led by Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Bojack and the other people on that on the committee that came and said we need to and we must. Dina Krills and I had talked about it. Where are you, sweetheart? We talked a number of times about it, and the presentation they made worked. And as always, to the rescue came the Knapp Sweezy Foundation to make it happen. You know, as communities, we're judged by the assets we have. We're judged by who we are as a community. You know, we did that little crosswalk that goes in the library across the street. If you notice in the middle is a book denoting what we believe in our community is the most important thing we have. Yes, we have entertainment. Yes, we have shopping. Yes, we have the arts. But it is about education and learning. And this is just a testament to that. This is another one of those assets we have. And between Laura and Harold and the board that we have, what you see today, the vision that they had, it's amazing. It really is amazing. So I really want to thank those that pushed, those that did, the Tri-Tech group for their investment and the time and efforts they put in, the people that stand to my right, all of you out there that wanted to see it happen. I thank you very much, because it isn't government that makes it happen, it's people that make it happen. And you're the people that made it happen. Thank you very much.
I think I'd like to welcome up Legislator Rob Calarco. I can't even say how helpful him, his staff, his office, everyone in the county has been. Every time before we even asked like a big favor, they just knew ahead of time and it was already done. So, Rob, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren, and it's a pleasure to be able to stand here today. You know, every once in a while, when you're an elected official, you get to do something that you can really feel and see and touch, and it's a really heartwarming moment, and certainly today is one of those moments. You know, I'm somebody who's always supported progress. I stood across the street a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when they had their opening and celebrated New Village coming to town and the things that it meant for our village and what it meant going forward. But you always have to remember your past as well. And when you look at the history of a community, that really tells you who you are and where you came from. And that's what this building is a part of. It's the history of Patchogue Village. And it tells us who we are as a community. And I'll tell you, the most exciting thing actually about this project for me has been when I meet people out in the community and they say, wow, have you seen how great the building looks? Have you seen how good they have? I used to go there when I was a kid. And I haven't had that experience because I didn't grow up in Patchogue. But I know my little girl, Alma Rose, and my little boy Patrick, they're going to have that experience now. To be able to come to this library and say, you know, I went there as a kid. And that's what this is all about today. So I'm so proud to be able to help my little part in making this happen. But it was a group effort, and certainly our friends group started it off to make sure everybody knew this was an important project. Friends from Tri-Tech putting their investment into moving the building, the village, the library stepping up to make it the library again. It's all great stuff, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So I have a proclamation here just to congratulate the Patchogue Medford Library on the reopening of the Carnegie Library.
We were quite lucky that New York State had availed us of close to $300,000 in library construction grants, which, you know, went obviously, in addition to that, Sweezy really went a long way for not having this project actually cost the community anything. So I'd really just like to thank our New York State representatives. I know we have Amanda. Is Amanda still here? From Senator Croce's office. So I just wanted to thank you.
Good afternoon. I'll speak on behalf of Assemblyman Murray and Senator Croce. Both of them are still up in the Albany. They're finishing this year's legislative work. But both of them would most likely want to say, you know, congratulations and a great job to everyone. This is phenomenal for the community of Patchogue, and we'd like to just present the board with a PROC.
Pleased to see Town Supervisor Ed Romaine here. Thank you always for all your support. If you'd like to say a few words.
Just huge congratulations to everyone that pitched in to make this a reality. We know that a village is about the people that live in the village, but it's also about buildings like this that speak to their history. It's not only a village that's focused on the future, as it is with the current village board, but a village that remembers its past. Congratulations to everyone that made this possible, and this is a certificate from the town to say good luck.
Thank you. So thanks all. Just before we cut the ribbon, I wanted to thank the library staff for, I guess, doing everything and putting up with me. And we're pulling today off. Thank you. Once we cut the ribbon, I hope you get a chance, just as exciting as the building itself. Teresa McCabe made a nice replication, a little Cake Boss cake of the library, so that's fun if you want to come take a look at that. You guys ready?
Yeah, do it.
All right. So we have Ed O'Connor and Hannah Aller. They're going to cut the ribbon. We'd love if everyone who remembers being in this library would come to the front, and Benny's going to take a nice community photo of all of us. Thank you.